Hey, thanks for checking in with us at Victory School of Wrestling in our weekly updates. I apologize I haven't been as diligent as I would like to have been throughout this summer with our weekly updates, and one of the reasons for that is because I've been traveling a lot. I've been doing a lot of camps and clinics at different locations across the state in the Midwest, and I feel like after some time I've spent with a few individuals, some other coaches that I respect, I feel really compelled to come here and tell you really what I'm feeling about the sport of wrestling and youth sports in general and the culture of youth sports. I don't know how many of you knew this, but I was a history major in college in 2003. I got my Bachelor's of Arts at the University of Wisconsin in history, and later I went and got my teaching certification. So I have a certification for Broadfield Social Studies, so I really appreciate history, and I examine and study history for a lot of reasons. And one reason most historians enjoy history is because we can learn a lot from our past. And there's a lot of things that have happened in our history that frankly, as human beings, we're not very proud of, and that we're even ashamed of. We can think of things like slavery, the Holocaust, some terrible things that happen in our history, and we look back and we're ashamed of those things. But when we can see those things in hindsight and from a bird's eye view, it's clear to us that those were not very wise decisions, and in fact they were dumb. They're dumb decisions. But if you go back to the time of slavery and ask the people who are partaking in those types of things, not all of them would have understood that it was wrong or that it was bad, because everyone was doing it. It took a few courageous leaders, some individuals, to step up to make the changes necessary so that slavery ended. And when we look back, we just say that was pretty crazy. And I don't want to equate youth sports to slavery at all. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But when I take a step back and try to look from a bird's eye view of what's happening in our sports culture and in youth wrestling, I get really scared. And I just think that down the line, when it's all said and done, we're going to look back at this generation of sports and we're going to think, man, it was just really dumb and really crazy what people were doing. And one of the things that I'm challenged to ask myself with, and challenged to ask other coaches, is are we part of preparing for the future? And that's probably the number one thing that scares me the most. Is I see a lot of short-sightedness here, where people are not thinking of the future, thinking of the ramifications or the repercussions for the decisions that they're making today with their children. And some of the decisions that parents make or coaches make, they just confuse me, and they're just weird or dumb, and I don't understand them. So whenever I get confused, I always just go back to the basics, because I think that mistakes happen when we elevate things that aren't the core issue, right? And we neglect what are the core issue. And I'll just say this right now, trophies, an abundance of state titles for young kids, those are not the core issues. That's not why we do what we do. So we got to get back to the basics, because I think what's happening is in our sports culture, and particularly wrestling in our case, is we're creating individuals who see this whole sports thing is about them. And I just ask, maybe even ask you and challenge you, the last practice that you went to, or the last tournament that you went to, or the last youth event that you went to, did you go into that event thinking about you? Or were you thinking about others, maybe how you could help them achieve goals, how you could serve, how you could do things for others? And I think that's just one of the telltale signs right there, is because I think right now the athletes that we're creating in our culture have three things. One is they have a sense of entitlement, and that's basically they say, what I want, I deserve to have. And this is fostered in them through the adults in their life, whether if it's parents or coaches. So they feel entitled. Number two is because they're entitled, they think what they and they want what they want. They think that the end justifies the means, and this becomes pragmatic. And so we've got entitled and pragmatism, and then the third one is they think that the rules don't apply to them So they had, and nobody has the right to deny them or stand in their way, and this is simply narcissism, and this is what we're seeing in our athletes, and parents are part of it. And I think when all is said and done, we're going to look back on this generation of sports, and we're going to say that this was a real consumer industry. Sports was a consumer thing. It's what can you do for me, and I want to go to the best club, I want to have the best coach, I want to, I'll pay the most money, I want the best singlet, I want this, and if it doesn't work for me, then I'm going to go to a different club, and I'm going to get what I need out of them, instead of getting to a club, serving and building together in community. And it just really worries me, and I think that we need some people who are going to step up right now and do what's right. And I believe at Victory we've taken some necessary steps to move forward, but we're just one club, and I'm going to do whatever I can as one person to try to steer this ship, because we need to start teaching self-respect to our kids, not self-entitlement or self-esteem. It needs to be self-respect. These young athletes need to understand and respect authority. They need to understand and respect themselves. And when we have narcissistic, entitled, pragmatic kids, those are not kids who respect themselves or respect the institution. And it's scary. It's scary. Sports is a scary thing. And I remember Mark Hall, who works for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, he just talked about one particular study, the Ham-Beller Values Choice Inventory. It was just this long study of athletes, and what this study concluded was essentially that sports left to itself erodes the moral character, honesty, justice, and responsibility of individuals. And that is not what we want sports to do. So it's time we step up as leaders, as parents, as whoever we are, and start doing the right thing and teaching character, coaching the heart of athletes, and making sure that we're teaching self-respect to these kids, so that they're not feeling entitled. Because when this is all said and done, and we look back in history at this stage of youth sports, we're gonna say, man, they're crazy. They were dumb. They made a lot of really bad decisions, and I want to be part of the people group right now that steps up and does the right thing.